Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Already we're live, and as you guys can tell right now, the thumbnail today we're working on more mini projects and I'm related 5 using C++. That's sad. Is my camera kind of diagonal? Okay, I don't think so. I'll be getting this kind of my screen. There we go. Okay, and today I did like add a few tweaks for my webcam because last year I was like, why is my webcam so blurry? So I'm actually avoiding usually I did much actually on Twitch and Kick as well alongside YouTube. So today I'm going to try not streaming on Twitch and Kick and re-uploading the stream there to see if it actually fixes my camera quality. I tweaked a few settings in the Logitech's let's say website, and also I increased my bitrate here. And I think that the stream already looks kind of clear, right? There we go. Okay, I can just tell it looks much clearer. It just has some kind of a white contrast to it. But well, I think that's fine. Let me actually check the vertical as well. Hold up, guys. So let me go to the other one real quick. There, let's see. Okay, the vertical one is still kind of blurry. I gotta fix that. Yo, hiding pixels, hiding. Hey, I appreciate you guys joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Let me go all the way up here. Well, I guess I'm going to fix that other thing later. Maybe I gotta decrease some of the horizontals as bitrate. Okay, but I'll do that later on. That's it. So, have you tried VLang already? Honestly, I've not tried VLang yet, but I will definitely try it after the series is over. That's it, hiding Anil. Appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, now let's go to my gameplay screen. There we go. And if you guys were here in the stream before last stream, when I actually worked with mini projects, you guys do remember or might remember that I did actually stop on the mini project number 4 because I didn't have much time to continue that. So I'm going to be working on that. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and open my mini project, run the program real quick, and let me show you guys what project was I working on. Okay, let's go ahead and run this real quick. Now, while my Unreal Engine is opening, I'm going to go ahead and get Claude up here. And in Claude, read the instructions that I was expected to do for the mini project number 4, where the requirements were to create a new C++ actor class called a Big 5 Inspector. And giving a quick little refresher, I was working with, let's say, I think it was like game mode base and player controller and pawn. So I think those are the 3 things: game mode base, player controller, pawn, and wait, I think game mode base, player controller, and spawn. Those are the 3 things. Now let's open Unreal Engine. And in case you guys want to see my entire window in Unreal Engine, make sure to move on to my horizontal screen. Speaking of which, let's go to something like content map. I'm going to double click my mini project map. And in my mini project map, if I were to go ahead and run the program, open my output log, scroll all the way down. These were the basic outputs that I've displayed on my, let's say, output log using C++ and Unreal Engine. While today I'm going to be working on this mini project number 4 and hopefully 5 and 6 as well. That's it. Let's read the requirements again. So create a new C++ actor class called a Big 5 Inspector. Create a new function called Inspector World, call Inspector World in begin play, so it executes once when the program runs. Inside Inspector World, get and validate, excuse me guys, game mode, which is basically game mode base. Okay, I think C#. Honestly, I'm working on C++. No, it's doing VLang, guys. Doing VLang is kind of crazy. I'm hitting Rust, and okay, my life, my passion, guys. That actually sounds pretty cool. I do have a whole Rust's chat or like a category or chat section in my Discord server, but I have not used it much. I might try Rust later on as well. That said, get and validate the player controller as well. Okay, get the pawn only if the player controller is valid, and log everything: expected output, log temp warning, data. Okay, that's the basic output. So to do that, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say open my Unreal Engine up here real quick. And just to be safe, I'm gonna get let's say Claude in my other window as well, because I want to read the instructions while I work on this. So once I'm here, I'm gonna go to something like let's go to the base project instructions. Scroll down a little. There we go. Okay, so I gotta create a new C++ class. Let's go with tools. Let's go to new class. I'm gonna create a new actor class. This is going to be called something like a Big 5 Inspector, and A is automatically prefixed for actors, so I'm going to go with something like a Big 5 INSPECTOR. There we go, a Big 5 Inspector. There, I'm going to go ahead and click Create Class. I just hope I spelled it correct. Okay, love seeing programmers obsessed with their favorite language. I'm also obsessed with mine, Rust. My happiness, our language have some things in common, like Rust is also used in game engines. That actually sounds really cool. I've heard that Rust was mostly for AI logic or making, yeah, I think like AI logic and all that stuff, but I gotta fact check myself on that. That's let's wait for this to add to the project. So there we go. Okay, and now I'm gonna go ahead and open my Visual Studio and we let it all. Ta-da, there we go. This is where it all compiles. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete my Unreal Engine configurations tab real quick. And guys, I have a bunch of tabs here. I might have to go on to a new project or maybe a new map after this. Okay, so now I gotta go ahead and create a new function called inspector words. So let's say under my protected data members in my header files, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say publicalize everything. So I'm gonna go with something like public. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add a triple asterisk as comment. I don't know, is it called triple asterisk comment? I gotta like fact check myself on that. Okay, well inside my comment, I'm gonna go ahead and say something like create a inspect world function. Okay, and then now to create my function, firstly, I want my function to be exposed to my Unreal Engine, so I'm gonna go with something like new function, which is going to be, let's say, blueprint callable. I'm going to go with something like blueprint, callable. There we go. And while I'm doing this, give me a second, guys. Let me just check if the stream quality is good, because I tried my best to work on and increase my stream quality. I hope it actually kind of improved. Okay, finally I'm at 1080p, because last stream when I had my workout stream, I saw my stream quality was like in 480p. I was like, what's wrong with it? I might be able to make it a bit more clear next stream. Okay, so after I'm done creating a functio and a u function, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create a white function, which is gonna be there. I was like, is my function name wrong or something? Okay, let me just actually get my mini project here so I can see both chats while actually reading the instructions. There. Okay, so I have a white function called ins inspect, right? I think I spelled inspect wrong here. Okay, SPECTWORLD. There we go. And now my inspect world function will not be requiring any parameters, but I will be ending this with a semicolon. And then let's just go ahead and hit Control S to save the code. Once I'm done saving the code, I'm going to move on to my C++ file. Okay. Inside inspect world, I gotta go ahead and get and validate my game mode. So let's say under my begin play, I'm gonna go ahead and add another triple asterisk as comments. There we go. Where I'm gonna go ahead and say define DEFINE inspect world function. Okay, I guess I could go it this way. Now for defining my inspect worlds function, firstly I'm gonna go ahead and kind of copy this to save some time. So I'm gonna paste my abig5 inspector, which uses a scope resolution operator to point towards my inspect worlds function. Okay, which does not require any parameters, but I am going to be adding a pair of curly braces. This is going to be a white function. Okay, and then let's add a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my pair of curly braces, firstly, I want to go ahead and get and validate my game mode. So to do that, I'm going to go with something like a game mode base is going to be represented by a local variable called game mode base, which is going to be equal to, okay, which is going to be represented by a pointer of game mode base. There we go. Okay, that is going to be equal to, let's say, something like get worlds. First, to actually get my game mode base, I do gotta get my worlds, because apparently in Unreal Engine you gotta first talk to the owner and then the, let's say, content that comes under the owner. In this case, let's say the manager. For example, game mode base is the actually get world is the manager, entire Unreal Engine is world. Under the manager comes the employees, which is basically let's say get authoritative something. Let's go with something like get AUTH game mode. There we go. I use IntelliSense for that. That's it. Hi, so I was in your I was in two of your Blender streams if you remember, Lo. May I ask, what are you planning in Unreal Engine? Honestly, I think I do remember you. That's it. My main goal is to actually make a game that consists of AI logic in it. So I am using Unreal Engine to kind of do that stuff. That's it. Are you an Indian? Honestly, okay, I say yes, he's Indian. Guys, many people do say that. I wonder what gives it away, because I actually am not. Okay, that's it. Let's see. So I'm gonna point it towards get authoritative game mode, ending with a semicolon. And then once I'm done with that, okay, so get and validate the game mode. How did he got this accent? I wonder that myself, guys. Okay, so get authoritative game mode. The question is, how could I validate it? Okay, let's see. So, okay, so game mode base is going to be equal to, I mean, I could go ahead and try something like, let's say, a UE log, because I do gotta log something, so I'm gonna go with a UE log. So let's go with something like LOG. Maybe I remove the extra space, or this looks good. Where my UE log is going to be requiring three parameters. The first is going to be a log temp, which is going to be my category parameter. The second is going to be a verbosity parameter. What kind of text I want to display on my window? In this case, I want to go ahead and display a warning text on my window. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and define or tell what text do I exactly want to display. Which, in this case, it's going to be something like game mode is valid. There we go. Okay, now I want to either display true or false. True if it's valid, false if it's not valid. So this is where my validation comes in. Since I'm working with a boolean value now, I'm going to go with %s. Actually strings mostly. So I'm going to go with something like %s is format specifier. And just so I be sure, in my notes I remember actually adding the format specifiers. Okay, let's see. Why is it so hard to read my own handwriting? Oh, what up, guys? Let me just go ahead and check that real quick. I'm trying to look for the format specifier. It should be somewhere here. Okay. Guys, what's the point of writing notes if I don't find what I'm actually looking for? Okay. I get, oh, there we go. Integer, strings. Well, I guess someone forgot to add format specifiers here, but that's fine. It's pretty easy, honestly. Okay, let's like, that's what gives it away, the name. Second, the look. That actually does make sense, guys. Okay, that's it. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a percentage because that's what we use for strings or booleans. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comma here. Let's go with something like a comma. Now, in my comma, I'm firstly gonna go ahead and use the isValid function. This validates to check if my game mode base is not null PDR. In case, I'm gonna go with something like isValid game mode. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use a question mark. This is basically a ternary operator, or if you guys are familiar with Python, it's a conditional expression. So if this condition is true, I want to display a text on my window. My text is going to be set to true. Okay, I mean, since I'm using C++ and not Python, I'm going to go with lowercase true, and then I'm going to go with a colon. If this is not set to true, this is going to be working as an else clause. I want to display a different text on my window that says something like false. There we go, and that's actually pretty much it to get and validate my inputs. Then I'm gonna go ahead and just end that with a semicolon. Okay, this guy's a real G. I remember watching his C videos. Keep the great work up, man. Honestly, I appreciate you. Ski Jerry, is that a name that actually means the world to me, guys? Okay, that's it. Let's see. Let's read the next instructions. Okay, so I got and validated my game mode. Although, why do I still see a small red underline? I'm assuming that's my Unreal Engine kind of messing right now. WARNING. So I have my warning. I got my authoritative game mode. Okay. Well, I think this is my Unreal Engine in that case. Unless, spell it. Oh, I think this is indented. Or, what if I went there? UE log. Okay, actually, I think this is correct. I don't really know why is that kind of messed up. Okay, but that's it. Let's read the next instruction now. So the next instruction says get and validate player controller. So now to get and validate my player controller, let's say I'm gonna go with something like a player controller. Okay, because I have worked a lot with player controllers back when I was adding movement, waycasting, or summoning logic. A player controller is going to be represented by a pointer called something like, let's say PC, because that's what I usually write. Okay, which is, let's say, going to be equal to, I'm going to talk to my manager. Let's get my world real quick. And then what comes under my world, I'm going to go with something like get first player controller. There we go. Okay, and in case you guys don't know how to use into lessons, it's control space to get into lessons. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use this function. And then let's end this with a semicolon. Now to validate this, I'm going to go with another UE log. Okay, let's go ahead and add a UE underscore log, which is going to be requiring a few parameters. Where the first parameter is going to be log temp, that is going to be my category. The second parameter is going to be a verbosity. What does text I want to display on my window? In this case, it's going to be my warning text. And lastly, I'm going to go with the actual text that I want to display. I'm going to go with something like player controller is valid. I wonder if my player controller is valid should have any space in it. Okay, maybe not. I try to follow the prompt exactly because that's what programmers really like tend to do. There we go. Okay, I'm then gonna go with something like a %s. So, and then let's add a comma here. Now, after I'm done adding my comma, I'm gonna go with something like. Okay, why am I indented after my comma? I auto indent. So, whoops, not there. I mean here. There, so I auto indent for some reason. One thing that could be missing here is because I gotta go ahead and let's say include a few files. Oh, this might be it. I kind of forgot to include a few things. So firstly, since I'm working with let's say game mode base, a player controller, and spawn, I'm gonna include those three things. For example, I'm gonna go with something like from my game framework. I want to go ahead and include game frameworks. I want to go ahead and include my game mode base.h, which is my game mode base's header files. And then let's say next up, I want to go with something like hashtag include. Let's go with something like game framework. For my game framework, I want to go ahead and let's say include my player controller.h, which is basically my player controller's header files. And then I want to go ahead and include for my game framework again, framework slash pawn.h, where I'm going to go ahead and include my pawn as well. Now, once I'm done with all that, let's read the next instructions. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here. So what I gotta do is I gotta go ahead getting and validating player controller. So I gotta go ahead and get my player controller, which I did. I represented by a local variable, okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a UE log. So I did that stuff. I gotta add is valid. Okay, so let's use the basic old functions that I've been using. Let's go with something like the is valid function. And honestly, let's go with the valid function. There we go. And honestly, the is valid function is like exactly the same as PC not equal to null PDR, but this is much more advanced and more safer / recommended to use because this actually does everything inside of it. Let's say I'm gonna go with something like PC. If my PC is valid, it's not null, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna go with question mark and use another ternary operator here. I'm gonna go ahead and display text on my window. Okay, which is going to be, let's say, something like true, else, whoops, else, false. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now, here's the thing. There we go. No wonder this had it right on your line. This is going to be game mode base. There we go. That's perfect. Now, gotta make sure these tiny little details. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and read the next instruction, which says me to get the pawn only if the player controller is valid. So I'm assuming to do this, I'm going to go with something like if of parentheses. Okay, let's go with something like if is valid, VALID, PC. If my player controller is valid, then I want to go ahead and do something. I want to go ahead and display a text on my window. Let's check the text out. I'm going to go with something like, first I want to get my pawn. So I'm going to go with something like a pawn is going to be represented by a pointer called something like pawn. That is going to be equal to, let's see. I think the word pawn is taken, right? Local variable are initialized. Do you guys think I can use pawn? My pawn would be much better because I think words like pawn, player controller, game mode base should technically be taken as well. So I'll just go with pawn because I don't think pawn can be taken. If it is taken, I'll always change the name. But I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to player controller. And guys, you guys remember the hierarchy that I was talking about? Now, player controller is the, let's say, manager. Get world is the boss. Get authoritative game mode is, let's say, the manager. In this case, my player controller here is the manager. He's talking to an employee. Player controller, this is going to be PC, my bad. PC, okay. Not PC's is function. Why did I write function? There we go. Okay, might get boring in long run. That actually does make sense. Okay, well, if you don't mind me saying, but I think you should switch to something more visual, interesting / interactive if you're looking for views, because just explaining the code, that actually does make sense. That said, I do actually go with something more visual. For example, in my Unreal Engine, why is this so laggy? Oh my gosh. That said, probably because of the light here. That said, for my Unreal Engine, I did have more visual styles, but for the tapping, I'm learning on the details because I don't think I can actually work on something really visual without learning the basics. So these streams might be a little tedious and boring, but once I get a pretty good hang of all this, I'm going to be working on with, let's say, breakcasting, summing logic, movement, and all those things added up, including AI logic. Then I gotta go ahead and work in Blender meshes, learn to rig those meshes, add animations, and all that stuff. And that is going to be a blast, but for these days, it's actually kind of boring because I'm still learning the basics. I think I got the basics almost in check. Okay, that said, I'm gonna go ahead and go with something like pawn. Wait, was it get pawn? I think it's get pawn. There we go. So only if my player controller is valid, I go ahead and get my pawn. And then I'm gonna go ahead and, let's say, display a UE log on my window after ending this with a semicolon. I'm gonna go with something like a UE underscore log, which is gonna be having 3 parameters again. First is gonna be log temp. The verbosity is gonna be warning. There we go. WARNING. And then next up, I'm gonna go ahead and display a text. Okay, I disagree. The best thing you can do coming from a senior dev / CTO is just listen to people code. This is too quality. Ooh, I see. Just listening to people code. That actually does make sense, guys. Because sometimes I do actually enjoy hearing people actually say syntax stuff, because I try to actually formulate those syntax or like articulate those syntax in my mind. And that makes really sense. Okay, that's it. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a text. There, I'm gonna go ahead and say something like pawn is valid. Let's go with something like pawn is valid. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with something like a %s sign. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comma here and check if my pawn is valid. So I'm gonna go with something like the is valid function. Okay, where I'm gonna go ahead and add my pawn's local variable here as my test subject. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use a ternary operator to check something. I'm gonna check if my pawn is valid. If that returns true, I'm gonna go ahead and display a text called something like true. Else, I'm gonna display a text called false. Let's go with something like text. This is gonna be false. And guys, if you guys do want to see my entire window and you guys can see half the code here because you guys are in the vertical stream, make sure to move on to the horizontal. That's where I display everything in landscape mode. Speaking of which, yeah, Hiding Pixels, appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, I think this is pretty much it for the three variables here, or the, let's say, five big inspectors. So I'm gonna go ahead and read the instructions again. Once I'm done with that, log everything. I think I've logged everything. Now I'm gonna hit Control S to save the code, copy my inspector worlds function, and let's say call it in my begin play so it executes once when I hit begin play, ending with a semicolon. Now, if I did Control S to save the code, Control S to save the code, open my Unreal Engine. In my Unreal Engine, let's say from my outliner, I'm going to delete a few classes because I don't want all these things to display all at once. There we go. Player start. There, that's pretty much good. Now I'm going to Control Alt F11 to compile my code. Let's wait for it to compile. Since it's the first day, it might take a few seconds to compile. While it's compiling, I might drink some water. Whoops. Okay, kind of dehydrated. Oh, it actually compiled pretty fast. I thought it's gonna take longer. Never mind. Okay, speaking of longer, I realized why it didn't take longer because I don't have something really heavy to compile. Now let's go to my content drawer. In my content drawer, I'm gonna go to C/C++ classes and get my big 5 inspector and drop him on the window. And then let's run the code. Now if I go to my output log, it says game mode valid true. Okay, player game mode valid true. Pawn is valid true. Just to fact check if that's correct, I'm gonna go ahead and go up to my C++ file and let's say change a few variables here. So I'm gonna set that to be true. I'm gonna set this to PCS. Now let's hit Control S to save the code. Let's go with Control Alt F11 to compile real quick. Let's see. Okay, well, it just gets a dead fail. Let's see. So maybe instead of going with PCS, I'm gonna go. How do I make this invalid? Oh wait, let's go with something like not valid. Not valid. There we go. That should fix it. Let's go with something like Control Alt F11 because I want my pawn and my game and my player controller to be set to false, or in this case, just my pawn to be set to false, just to test if it works. Okay, pawn has not been displayed here. That's good. Okay. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. I want to check if I can get this to be false. I go with a UE log if player controller is valid, which it is not going to be. That's gonna give me a syntax error. What can I do to not make my player controller valid? Maybe I don't go with get worlds. I just go with get worlds, not get first player controller. There, this would it make sense? Okay, maybe I don't go with get world, I just go with get first player. Okay, well, I guess I don't know how to make it false. I guess that's fine for now. I'm just gonna go to my Unreal Engine and Control Alt F11 and move on to my next mini project. I think I'm gonna be going on to my phase 4 of my roadmap, so that might be good. Was it phase 3 or phase 4? I gotta fact check that. Hold up, before I really fact check it, I'm gonna run this output log. Take a quick little screenshot for Claude. Okay, just to say Claude that I'm done with this. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. Now let's open Claude real quick. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and paste this, go with zoom in and say something like, say, done exclamation. And how far are we in the roadmap in terms of percent? Okay, let's see it. Let's just go ahead and send this because I do have like an entire roadmap. If you guys do want to use the roadmap that I'm actually working on, make sure to DM me or like mention me on Discord, on my Discord. That's it. Oh, Chad, do you see that output? Phase 2 complete. Okay, so we were moving on to phase 3. Roadmap progress. Phase 1, Unreal Engine Foundations, complete 100%. Phase 2, the big 5 frameworks, complete 100%. Phase 3, input and movement. Next, this is, excuse me guys, that is going to be fun. Okay, so I'm done with 18% of my roadmap. That is because I did like start Unreal Engine from scratch again. Okay, capstone project, that's kind of fun. Speaking of which, but here's what that 18% means. Now you can create actors from scratch, use all UE5 data types correctly. That's actually insane. Expose variables to the editor, that's easy. Log anything to the output log, that is very easy. Attach and validate components, that's cool. Spawn and destroy actors, that's easy. Access the game mode, that is That's good. Access the player controller, that is easy. Access the pawn safely, extremely easy. Understand the Big Five frameworks, a decent understanding. That is not 80% of a beginner, that is 80% of a game developer. Oh, I see. But listen, 80 means 82 is still ahead, and phase 3 is where things get really exciting. And there we go, enhanced input systems, finally! Phase 3, input and movement. Enhanced input systems, making things actually move. I have worked with this. Sprint, crouch, camera control, your code controlling a character. For the first time, your game will actually feel like a game. Okay. You have not come so far, but the summit is still ahead, and that is the exciting part. You have come so far, guys, I cannot read properly. Chat, from 0 to controlling the UE5 framework in those 2 sessions. That is what happens when you show up every day. Rest up because phase 3 is going to demand everything from you. Okay, let me say something like, I'm rested up. Let's say exclamation. Okay, let's see. And I guess I gotta make my notes up again. Speaking of notes, let me just check if my camera, whoops, let me get plot up here first, and then go to OBS, go to my main camera and check if my camera is clear. Okay, unless my unless my stream delay actually messes it up. Okay, because I want to make sure it's clear, because last year my camera was very, very blurry. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go back to my gameplay screen. Okay, I just went to the main camera so I could actually see my window on my phone, or my stream on my phone. Okay, I guess while it's actually, I think it's almost done. So, okay, I won't say it's bad. The quality is not great, but it's not bad. It's a little wide. I gotta decrease the contrast a little. Maybe decrease the ISO settings, I guess. That's fine. Okay, that said, let's go, welcome back. Success is not own it. It's leased and rent is due every single day, said by JJ what? Okay, but before we charge into phase 3, I need to know if your brain is still sharp, quickfire, brown, no scrolling, pure memory. What function do we use to get the game mode from the worlds? Let's go with something like question 1. Okay. To get the game mode base, we first get our world, WORLD, and then our authoritative game mode. And I spelled authoritative wrong. Yeah, I did not know how to spell it. There we go. So I'm gonna go with something like get worlds. This function that points towards get auth game mode, ending with a semicolon. Next up for question 2, let's go with something like question 2. Okay, for my question 2, why do we always go through the player controller to get the pawn? To be safe. Because, actually I might use a semicolon here. Because in UE5, we need to talk to the superior before we talk to people under them. In this case, player controller is the manager and the pawn is a employee. We need to talk to the manager first, then we talk to the employee. Okay, next up for question 3, what's the difference between is valid and null PDR check? Okay, question 3, is valid function is recommended because it does everything that the null PDR check does and does more. I forgot the correct wording for it because I forgot what all does it do, but I do note that we should use is valid instead of null PDR check. Okay, and then let's go with something like question number 4. What does static key subclass of systemplate do, and why is it better than static class? Okay, let's go with something like question 4. Question 4. Okay, so basically, what up, guys? The T subclass of systemplate. Let's go with something like the T subclass of systemplate stores the actor or the object that we want to summon. How? Actually, let's go with something like in the other hand, using static class is okay, let's go with something like using static class. We need to hard code what do we need to summon. It's better to use, let's go with something like to use the subclass of systemplate. Okay, that was a fingerful to write. Let's send it. Oh, chat, look at these answers. 2 days later. It's the same day, basically. Actually, I just started 2 days later because I wrote with the subclass of 3 streams ago. Okay, the knowledge is still there. That's not memorizing. That is understanding. Let's score it. Perfect. Get work, get authoritative mode, clean, precise, correct. Brilliant analogy. Manager and employee. I love that. Player, controller, manager. Form the employee. Always talk to the manager first. Never bypass the chain of commands. Question 3, but correct, but let me fill the gap. You said you forgot what extra things is valid does. Here's the complete answer. Null PDR check asks 1 question. Does the pointer point to something? Is valid asks 3 questions. Is the pointer not null PDR? Has the object not been destroyed? Is the object not pending kill? Pending kill means UE5 has marked it for deletion. It still exists in memory, but it is about to die. Null PDR misses this. Is valid checks this. Okay. Number 4, perfect. Static class hard-coded only spawns 1 class. T subclass of flexible. Choose from editor, swap classes without touching code. Final score 4 out of 4. Okay, perfect. Now we finally move on to phase 3. Before we build anything, we need to understand what we're working with, the enhanced input system. Forget the old input system. UE5 uses the enhanced input system. Here's how it works. Old way, bind. Okay, old input system was legacy inputs. In case you guys didn't know, the new ones is enhanced inputs. That's much better. Old way, bind the key directly to a function. Widget, hard to change, outdated. No way, enhanced input systems. Input action. What happens? Input mapping context. Which key triggered it? Complete flexibility and modular. That makes so much sense. That's the 3 pillars of enhanced inputs. Pillar 1, input action. Think of it as a verb. Jump, move, sprint, crouch. It does not care about which key, it only cares about what happened. Pillar 2, input mapping context. Think of it as key binding sheets, W key, move forward, space, jump, shift, sprint. It connects keys to input actions. I do know this part, so I'm not going to be spending as much time because I have worked with enhanced inputs a lot. Speaking of which, pillar 3, enhanced input component. Think of it as the listening. It sits inside your character. It listens for input actions. When an action fires, it calls your function. How they all connect? Player presses W. Input mapping context sees W key. Trigger move input action. Enhanced input component catches it. Calls your C++ function. Character moves. Okay, character movement component. Okay, a character already has this built in. It handles all movement for you, walking, jumping, falling, swimming. Those are the most basic ones, but there are much more. To make your character move, add movement input, direction value to make your character look around, add controller yaw input, which is in charge of me looking either towards the left or right in the x-axis. Pitch input, on the other hand, is in charge of me looking either up or down in the y-axis. Okay, Sprint in C++. Character movement component has max walk speed, default walk speed. Get character movement, max walk speed equals 300. Get character movement, max walk speed equals 600. Oh, I see. Okay. So sprinting is just changing the max speed. When shift is pressed, set speed to 600. When shift is released, set speed back to 300. Crouching in C++. A character has built-in crouch. You need to enable it first. It does. In constructor, get character movement, navigate agent props.beacon crouch equals to crouch, call the crouch function. To stand up, call the uncrouch function. Camera in C++, you need two components, the camera component and the spring arm component. I have worked with those as well. Spring arm holds the camera behind character. You property edit anywhere. Use spring arm component, which is going to be represented by pointer. I could go with camera boom, spring arm. I don't think people really use that. They actually might use it. Okay, but the way I've learned it, actually I represent it by a local variable called camera boom, because in case you guys are actually familiar with like film industries, the big let's say stand where the camera is attached to, that is called the camera boom. That is exactly what we're using. And our actual camera component, I call it follow camera because my camera follows my camera boom everywhere it goes, exactly as it's mounted, or like to simulate that it's mounted to my actual spring arm. That's it. In constructor, spring arm equals to create default sub objects as template, which requires my component name, and then I want to add a text and name my component. This name is going to be the name that I will be able to see my component in my outliner on my Unreal, let's say my Unreal Engine's level instance. And then spring arm component points towards setup attachment, root components. With the root components, I can basically move, turn, or rotate my player, or see myself do those things. Without it, I wouldn't be able to do any of those. And then I go with camera components. Now, you guys remember the mounting that I was talking about? That's what comes here. After I go ahead and add the create default sub object and add my components here and give it a name for the outliner, I go with camera and point it towards setup attachment. I want to set my camera up to my spring arm. My root component is my spring arm, so they're attached together now. In let's say programming language, my camera is the child of my spring arm. Next up, now quickfire. What's the difference between input action and input mapping context? Let's go with something like question 1. The difference between input action and input mapping context. The difference is that input action is in charge of one action. However, the input mapping context is in charge of, let's see if I remember, input mapping context. Actually, I do remember, I'm trying to phrase it properly. Is in charge of, let's say, seeing, charge of checking which input action was executed. There we go. I think that I phrased that kind of nice. So it's in charge of executing which input action was executed. For example, if I pressed W, it tells it returns the value that was supposed to be needed for a certain function. I think I phrased it correct. It's kind of hard to phrase it. Okay, that's it. Now let's go to question 2. So for my question 2, how do you make character sprint in C++? We change max walk speed, um, and keep it higher than regular walk speed. Now here's the syntax. I kind of forgot the syntaxes. The K get character movement points towards max walk speed is going to be equal to 300.f. Then max get character movements as function is going to point towards max walk speed equals to 600. I'm just going to go with something like / new line. Since it's C++, I gotta go with / new line. Oh my gosh, C++ and Python has so many different syntaxes. Wait, that's / right? There we go. This is what we use in Python, /. In Python we use /. In C++ we use a / there. Okay, now for question number 3. What 2 components do we need for a third person? Okay, let's go with something like question 3. We need a spring arm component and a camera component. Now let's hit enter. Oh my gosh, that was a handful to write. Speaking of which, let me just check if everything's going correctly. Everything's going good there. There we go. Okay, excellent. Chat, he absorbed all of that in one read. Let's go ahead. Correct. Let me sharpen your phrasing. You understood it. Input action. What? Jump, move, sprint. Does not care about keys. Input mapping context. The which. W key triggers move. Space key triggers jump. Connects key to actions. The analogy was right. Just remember, action equals what happens. Context equals what key makes it happen. Which key makes it happen. Question 2, perfect. Walk. Question 3, perfect. Now we build phase 3 mini project lineup. Project 1, the moving character medium, a C++ character that moves forward, backwards, left, right using enhanced inputs. Okay. That's medium. Hard is full controller, a third person, camera, mouse look, fine-tuned movement feel, a complete playable character. At sprint, crouch to your existing character, I see. The moving, a C++ character that moves in all 4 directions using enhanced inputs. Requirements, create a new C++ character class called a player character. Okay, set up enhanced input in C++, create 2 input actions, IA_move, IA_look. Bind them in C++, make the character move. Step by step, step 1, add enhanced input to building, open your project build.cs. Okay, and then public dependency modules, I gotta go ahead and add enhanced inputs. Step 2, your header files, I gotta go ahead. This is not that important, but declaration might as well. Okay, input action value. I gotta include my input action value and my characters as header files, which is automatically created because I am creating a character class this time, right? Okay, and then your header files, I'm not gonna copy all of this because I already know what to do here. In the C++ to validate, I don't use null PDR, so that's good. Then have constant is valid. Get forward and right direction. This is a bit different from what I'm used to, because I never went with constant, but this time I might go with constant. Add movement is valid. Step 4, editor setup, create input action, right click input. Okay, new concept, cast. You saw this in your code. Cast a player controller, get controller. Think of it like this: get controller returns a generic A controller. But we know it has a player controller. Cast says treat it as a player controller. Okay, are you doing any freelance projects? Honestly, I don't think I'm doing it for the time being, but I might eventually do it. That's it. Hi doing A909. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, it's like knowing how to shape a square, but it was handed to you just as a shape. Cast says no, treat it like it's a square. If cast succeeded, return correct type. If cast fails, no PTR. I see. Type everything yourself, no copy pasting. Read every line before typing. Okay, I mean, I think this isn't as hard, so I'm gonna click here. I'm just gonna have the reference up just for the syntaxes, because the syntax is a bit different from what I'm used to. Okay, but it's still gonna work. I just want to write it like correct syntaxes too. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go ahead and start off by going to choose. I'm gonna create a C++ class. Let's go to a new C++ character class. I'm gonna call it something like player character. Let me read the instructions again. Let's go all the way up to my instructions. What up guys, how high is my instructions? There we go. Okay, create a new C++ class, call it a player character. So I'm gonna go with something like player character, and then I'm gonna create a class. Now let's wait for it added. Let's wait for it to add to the project. And in case you guys want to see my entire window, make sure to move on to my horizontal stream. That's why I actually stream on portrait mode. Actually, landscape mode, not portrait. Okay, let's see. Now let's go ahead and reload all. And just so it's good, I might remove half these things from here. They're just kind of getting in the way. Okay, spawn actor, delete that. Nope, delete, 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 delete. Whoa, hold up. There, I have my player controllers and header files. I'm gonna go with Control Alt L to get my Solution Explorer. Here, go to Mini Projects, go to Source, go to Mini Project. While I'm here, I might open my build.cs file as well. Before that, I'm gonna go to something like their characters C++ file. And then, do you guys see a build.cs somewhere? There we go. In my build.cs file, I'm gonna go up here to my public dependency module names. I'm gonna go ahead and add a public dependency module. Okay, never mind, I already have it added here. That is just to check in case you guys don't have it added, you guys can add it. Okay, so let's start off by going to my header files first. In my header files, I have this thing included, I have that thing included. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and include my input action value as well, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be needing those. Include. Let's go with something like input action value .h. Okay, a name and concept of game and which platform are you working on? Honestly, I am actually working on Windows, Unreal Engine, and I'm working on, let's say, a roadmap to learn Unreal Engine. I think I'm in the part where I'm working with movement component and all that stuff. I was just done with learning the big 5 inspectors, for example, the game mode, the game state, a player controller, pawn, and character. I'm gonna go ahead and utilize them now. If you guys do want the roadmap that I'm using, make sure to mention it on my Discord server. A quick little shameless plug, the link is going to be in the description, the bio, or you guys can get access by tapping information in Discord and chat. That said, moving on back to the project here. In my header files, this is a little different compared to the actor class because I literally have taken setup their input component up here, but it's the same thing. I'm gonna be let's say publicizing everything here. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add a triple asterisk comment here, which I actually like to do these days. Okay, I'm gonna go with something like move action. I'm gonna go ahead and create a move action here, which is gonna be exposed to my Unreal Engine. So I'm gonna go with something like a property, property. Okay, where I want my move action to be, let's say, edit anywhere. I want to be able to edit my move action in my blueprint. Excuse me, guys, in my blueprint defaults or in my Unreal Engine's instance, which is my level instance, my level. and then I want to go ahead and categorize it in a category called something like input. Okay, what do I want it to be visible anywhere? You know what? Sure. That's fine. Okay. You know what? Never mind. I can't make it visible anyway because I want to be able to edit it. Okay. Speaking of which, next up, I'm gonna go ahead and add another triple asterisk comment that is gonna say something like look action. This. Wait, I forgot to actually go all the way up here and declare a few classes. Let's go with a triple asterisk comment and say something like declare declare empty C++ classes so UE5 knows that actually so compiler knows that it exists. Okay, so to do so, I'm gonna go with something like a class. I'm gonna go ahead and create a class called something like uInput action, ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to create another class called something like uInput mapping context. There we go. Okay, guys, let's not spam 6. I see the first time. You can go with something like timeout. Let's say a minute. There we go. Okay, guys, let's not really spam 6. Okay, wait. Did I just time out? Let's go ahead and remove. Okay, perfect. And that's let's go all the way down here now. For my input action, I'm gonna go ahead and add a new property where I want my look action to be, let's say, edit anywhere. I want to be able to edit my look action anywhere. I want to categorize it in a category, category called something like input. Okay, let's go with input. And then I want to go ahead and, let's say, represent my move action. I'm going to go with something like uInput action, which is going to be represented by a pointer called move action. Okay, and then let's end it with a semicolon. Just to be sure, it's pasted there. Just to be sure if my spelling is correct, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. For my look action, I'm going to represent my look uInput action by a look actions pointer, ending with a semicolon. Okay. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to hit Control S to save the code. I think that's pretty much it. All I'm going to go ahead and do now is add another triple asterisk comment that says something like functions. Okay, and then I'm going to go with, let's say, something like, I don't want it to be unbuilt functions. I want to expose it. This is where I'm going to see the syntaxes that Claude gave me. Oh, wow. Everything is virtualized here. My protected data member is virtualized. Set player input component. Okay, input mapping context. I got to create an input mapping context as well. Let's do that. I'm going to add a triple asterisk comment that says something like input, let's say, mapping context, context. Instead of going with move action, look action, I'm going to go with something like input actions. I feel this is actually much cleaner. Okay, and this is going to be input mapping context. For my input mapping context, I'm going to go with something like a uProperty, where I want my input mapping context to be edit anywhere. I want to be able to edit it anywhere. I want the category, category, to be equal to something like input. Okay, and then I'm going to go with something like my uInput mapping context is empty class that I've declared up there and represented by a pointer called something like default mapping. There. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go with something like movement functions. Okay, movement functions. Should I keep them to be one name? I don't know. Sure, why not? For my movement functions, I'm gonna go with something like a white function called something like move, where I gotta go ahead and I require a parameter, which is gonna be something like a constant parameter of a f input action value. I didn't create the structure here, so I'm gonna go structure struct, and yeah, Claude didn't really have that. This is from my all programs that I have some experience with creating these things. F F is used to prefix a structure, so I'm gonna go with something like F input action value ending with a semicolon. Now my F constant F input action value is going to be represented is going to be requiring the memory address of a value. Okay, and then let's just go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now, just to save a little bit of time, I'm gonna copy that, I'm gonna paste this, I'm gonna change move to look. Perfect. And then once I'm done with that, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna hit Control S to save the code and move on to my C++ file now. In my C++ file, I'm gonna define everything that I've declared. Firstly, my player character.h, I gotta include, let's say, 3 different headers. For example, since I'm using enhanced input component, I'm gonna go with enhanced input component.h. I want to include my enhanced input components as header files, and then I want to go ahead and include my enhanced input subsystems.h, which is basically my enhanced input subsystems as header files. And lastly, I might want to include my input action value, which I have included here. Honestly, I'll copy this from here. It's better if the header file has very less content in it, because the lesser content the headers have, the more, should I say, efficient it is. Does that make sense? Because the compiler first iterates over all my header files and then moves on to my C++. So if the header file is light, it goes over everything in my header file. I don't know if that made any sense at all. That's it. Now, in my okay, I was gonna add a camera here in my constructor, but not really work with that camera part, so I'm gonna skip all of that. The player controller. So firstly, I want to go ahead and get my player controller. Why is it inside the begin? Oh, I remember. Okay, so once my program actually runs, I want to do something. I'm gonna add a triple asterisk comment that says something like get the So I'm gonna go ahead and get my player controller. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like a player controller is gonna be represented by a pointer called PC that is gonna be equal to, excuse me guys, cast, which is gonna be having my A player controller here. And yeah, I know I did not really work much on cast yet, so I'm gonna be asking Claude what cast actually does, even though Claude did give me a basic overview on what it does, but I want a better let's say overview. So cast a player controller, I want to go ahead and get controller. Okay, this is what I said to you guys, that I have worked with cast. I know what it does, but I don't really know what it does exactly. Like, I don't know everything that it does. I know where to use it and why it's being used. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done getting my player controller, I'm gonna go ahead and check if my player controller is valid. Usually what I used to do is that I used to go with something like if my PC is not equal to null PDR, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. That's what I usually used to do, but now that I learned a new method, I'm gonna use the isValid method. That is gonna check if my PC is valid. It does 3 checks. Does my PC exist? Is there any pending kills left? Or what was the third one? Did I make notes on it? I forgot the third check. Hold up, guys. I have it written here. Okay. What's the point of making notes? God damn, I don't find a thing when I need it. Well, it does three things though. Let me just go ahead and get a wrap. Slide here, scroll all the way up. It did say it up here. There we go, question 3. Okay, is the pointer not null period or has the object not been destroyed? Is the object not pending till? Okay, so has it been destroyed or pending till? Not null period, not been destroyed, not pending till. It checks those two things. Okay, now I'm gonna check if my player controller is valid. If it is, I want to go ahead and add a triple asterisk comment that says something like get enhanced input subsystem. And yeah, I worked with this as well, so I'm so glad I actually worked with it. It's so much easier right now. I'm gonna go with something like U enhanced input local player subsystem is going to be represented by pointer called something like subsystem. Okay, that is going to be equal to UENH, I spelled it wrong. UENH local player subsystem is going to be represented by pointer called subsystem. That is going to be equal to U. It's going to be a new line. U local player that uses a scope resolution operator to point towards get subsystems this template. There, this is going to be having my UEnhance input component here. UEnhance input local player subsystem here. Then I'm going to go with a pair of parentheses, which is going to go ahead and have, I forgot what, my PC that points towards get local player sysfunction. Okay, and then do I need a pair of curly braces here? Not really. That's strange. I'm pretty sure I needed a pair of curly braces that points my input mapping context to default mapping, or my add mapping context to default mapping. Well, I guess we do a whole different check for that. I gotta ask the region. Okay, is valid. Okay, if my, let's say, subsystem is valid. Oh, I think I see. This is indented. There we go. If my subsystem is valid, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna add a pair of curly braces where my subsystem points towards add mapping context. Okay, which is mapping, which is gonna be my default mapping, and my priority is gonna be set to 0. Okay, I mean, okay, I started panicking for a bit. I was like, wait, is this something different? Did I learn it wrong the first time? Nah, it's correct. With just an extra subsystem validation check. Speaking of which, I'm exhausted. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with this, the next thing I might need is set up player component. Okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and do this next part on the next stream, because this stream I'm pretty exhausted to this. I gotta save some energy for learning from my exam now. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest next stream. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the skip plot here, maybe exit plot, hit Control S to save the code, exit Visual Studio. Hit Control S to save everything. Well, want to save it all. I want to go there, I want to save all, and then I'm going to go ahead and exit that. Now let's go to my OBS, move on to my main camera. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. I would have gone longer, but I don't want to completely fatigue my brain out because I got an exam in today, so I got to work for that. Not just one exam, I think I got like 3 whole exams. And that said, if you guys have enjoyed the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like, helps my algorithm change, makes it fun, subscribe and make it turn top. That said, I was gonna say that I started my stream on Twitch and YouTube, but since my screens were getting kind of blurry, because even though I can get higher bitrate because of my upload speed, my CPU can't really actually get that because I don't really have a graphics card yet. The one that I'm using is integrated inside of my motherboard. That's the reason that my streams were bloody, but I am going to be re-uploading this stream to Twitch and Kick. So I think it's kind of possible to say, or it's kind of, let's say, correct to say that I did start montage streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube. I will start montage streaming on TikTok and Instagram as well if I didn't meet the followers requirements. If you guys enjoy my content and haven't followed me, then make sure to follow me. The link is going to be in the description. You guys can get access to the link through my bios and also join the Discord server. That's where I usually talk to you guys, chat with you guys, have general conversations. The link is going to be in the description. You guys can get access to the link through my bio or by tapping exclamation Discord on chat. And that said, I'll catch you guys next live stream or video. Peace. And guys, after my yesterday's workout stream, my body is still really sore. Okay, let's go to my